It all starts with Ellie demanding that Joel swear everything that happened with the Fireflies is true. Faced with her request, and even though he knows it was all a lie, Joel chooses to stick with the story. Without flinching, he promises her that things went down exactly the way he told her. With that answer, Ellie decides to leave that chapter behind and keep moving forward, carrying the weight of what happened, but not letting it hold her back. Then we see the giraffe again. Only this time, she's not alone. Now she's with her herd, enjoying the feast nature has laid out in the form of lush greenery, which has begun to spread over the concrete remains of the dead city, breathing a bit of life back into the ruins. Not too far from there, we find a group of survivors with Abby. They've arrived at a makeshift graveyard where the fallen fireflies have been laid to rest. One of them, curious about the rumors, wonders aloud why Joel would do what people say he did, suggesting he might have kidnapped some girl. But Abby is quick to shut that down, making it crystal clear that all of that is bogus. Still, the conversation continues, throwing out the idea that maybe Joel was hiding something unreal. Ellie's immunity. Even though the thought is dismissed quickly for sounding too far-fetched, it still plants a seed of doubt. Then one of them suggests looking for the fireflies, but another snaps back, blunt as hell, reminding them there's no one left to find, because the people they're talking about are lying right beneath their feet. That's when one of them speaks up and says a guy in their crew, Ed, has a brother named Isaac who's leading a whole community out in Seattle. Word is, Isaac's willing to take all of them in and give them a shot at starting fresh. But Abby cuts the talk short before they even think about joining any other group. She makes it clear her main focus is finding Joel. One of her guys, clearly worried, asks how she plans on doing that when all they've got is his name. That's when Abby drops the info she's managed to dig up. Joel's about 50, stands somewhere around 6 feet tall, and has a scar running across the right side of his temple. The man steps a little closer, moving in carefully. He tries to calm her down, talk her out of going on a mission so uncertain. He tells her that once they're in Seattle, they'll have more resources, more eyes, more ears. And from there, maybe they'll have a real shot at digging up a solid lead that could point them straight to Joel. But before making any final call, Abby wants to know one thing: if they're really going to stick by her side in all this. And faced with how dead set she is, her guy looks her in the eye and swears they're going to find Joel. And when they do, they'll take him out for her, no matter what. That's when Abby finally accepts his support. And before leaving that place behind, a place heavy with memory and grief, she says goodbye to her fallen friend, setting her necklace down gently on one of the graves. With her voice steady and her eyes locked on the headstone, she makes him a promise that before she ends Joel's life, she's going to make sure he suffers. Slowly, she's going to torture him, piece by piece, until he pays tenfold for everything he's done. 5 years after everything that went down, we catch up with Ellie again. This time, she's inside a barn, locked in a fight with a big, heavy-set guy. Even though he's got the physical edge, the man shows her a bit of respect, letting her get back on her feet before throwing the next punch. Ellie charges at him with grit and all the strength she's got, but her attempts don't get her anywhere. She hits the ground again and tries kicking him hard with both feet, but that doesn't do much either. Right after that, the guy moves in to choke her out, going straight for her neck. But from that angle, Ellie manages to wrap her legs around his head, locking in a chokehold. Still, the guy's not going down easy. He shows off his raw power by lifting her clean off the floor, struggling to break free. But he waits too long. The longer he stays caught, the tighter her grip gets, until the lack of air starts wearing him down. That's when Ellie turns the tables and gets him pinned, just before he manages to snap her arm. The fight suddenly comes to a halt when another man shows up. Turns out, he's a friend of both of theirs. And just like that, we realize the whole thing was just a sparring session. When he sees how smug and satisfied Ellie looks after what seems like a solid win, the guy she just took down admits that he'd been holding back the whole time. Said his buddy told him to ease up so he wouldn't end up knocking her out cold. That ticks Ellie off. She warns him not to ever underestimate her again, or try to play her like that. As she changes clothes, she admits that even if it was all a bit of a setup, the fight was still intense and honestly kind of satisfying. Later on, when her friend asks if she's going to show up to the event going down that night, she doesn't even hesitate. It's like a given, something that's just part of life around there, maybe even expected. As she steps out of the barn, we get a better look at where she's living now. Ellie's part of a settlement in Jackson, Wyoming, a quiet little mountain town where a couple hundred folks have built a well-organized and peaceful way of living. People in the community are always busy doing upkeep, like unclogging pipes jammed up with roots, everyone pitching in to keep the place running smooth. Meanwhile, we catch up with Joel. He's working on a repair project of his own, focused, hands deep in whatever he's fixing, until he's interrupted by Dina, a young woman from town who also happens to be Ellie's best friend. She's there asking him for help fixing a busted clay pipe. Joel's like, "Yeah, I'll swing by later." When Dina shows some curiosity about what he's working on, he tells her he's fixing up some breakers. He even offers to show her how it's done, breaking it down, explaining how electrical circuits work and how to tell if there's still a current running through them. In the middle of this impromptu little lesson, Dina suddenly shifts gears and asks why Ellie's been so cold with him lately. Joel tries to brush it off, chalking it up to just one of those teenage phases, you know? That thing where kids start pushing away from their parents or whoever's looking out for them. He figures it's something that'll blow over with time. But then his whole vibe shifts. The calm sort of melts off his face, and you can see the worry creeping in. He gets quiet, and then, almost like he's talking to himself, he wonders out loud what it is he did wrong. Says maybe he's a bit too rough around the edges, too protective. But beyond that, he can't quite pin down a real reason for Ellie keeping her distance. In the end, Joel shrugs and says he can't be holding himself responsible for other people's feelings. That one line makes Dina raise an eyebrow, like she's starting to suspect Joel might be going to therapy with Gail, the town's therapist. And the second Joel realizes he's been caught, you can see the embarrassment all over his face. Not wanting to drag the convo out any longer, he tells her to go on and fix that pipe like they'd planned. But right before she heads off, he looks her in the eye and seriously asks her not to tell anybody that he's seeing a shrink. Meanwhile, somewhere way out of town, Ellie and Tommy are climbing one of the hills that overlook the valley. From up there, Ellie starts doing some target practice with a rifle, taking shots at the infected wandering in the distance. She nails one with her first shot. Tommy, impressed, tells her to try hitting an infected woman that's shuffling in from even farther out. This time, Ellie only manages to clip her in the leg. It doesn't stop her from moving forward. Right then, the two of them realize the noise and activity from the alpine area has been drawing more infected up into the hills. Seeing the situation getting risky, Tommy says they need to head back ASAP to dispatch a patrol to check things out. On top of that, he lets Ellie know she's getting reassigned. She won't be running with her usual crew anymore. Instead, they're posting her at the front gate of the settlement. Ellie hears that and immediately takes it like a demotion, like they're losing faith in her. Tommy tries to explain that it's Joel who's worried about her. Says that last time she went out, she acted way too reckless. That doesn't sit well with Ellie. She gets heated, reminds Tommy she's an adult now, and that Joel doesn't get to decide what she does or doesn't do. That's when Tommy confesses that, even if he doesn't totally agree, he knows better than to go against his brother out in the open. But Ellie? She's not letting it slide. She fires back, loud and clear, that she's immune, that the infected can't hurt her, so she shouldn't be treated like just another settler. Tommy, nervous now, tells her that talking about that kind of stuff is strictly off limits in public. But Ellie, defiant as ever, raises her voice and shouts that she's got a bite mark on her arm, that it's proof of what she's saying. Back on the patrol team, but not without a very clear warning. Ellie is told she must follow the rules from now on, no exceptions. Later, a group of newcomers rolls into the settlement. While they're getting settled, a woman watches from an office window. She turns out to be Joel's sister-in-law and starts voicing her concerns. She says they need to speed up construction because space for new people is running thin. Joel, with his no-nonsense attitude, offers a simple solution. Maybe they should slow down the flow of people coming in. But his sister-in-law, who has a seat on the council, shuts that down quickly. She insists they can't just turn their backs on people looking for shelter, just like they once needed help themselves. Still, Joel pushes back, saying that keeping their own people safe should come first. Letting folks in non-stop without a solid system in place is asking for trouble, in his opinion. Right after that, Tommy shows up and joins the family. Joel looks him over and asks where his rifle is. Tommy, not wanting to tell the truth, lies without blinking and says he was out hunting alone. He doesn't mention that he went up the ridge with Ellie. Before Joel heads out to work, his sister-in-law sees him off with a comment that hits home. She reminds him that once upon a time, he was a refugee too, just looking for a place to call home. Later that day, Joel makes his way to Gail's place, the community's therapist. She greets him with a glass of whiskey, her way of celebrating his birthday. As a thank you, Joel hands her a small bouquet of flowers, a symbolic gesture before they begin their session. Once they sit down, Joel opens up. He says he's been following her advice, giving Ellie space, not hovering, not pressuring her. He's been taking a step back and letting her come around in her own time. But with a heavy sigh, he admits it doesn't seem to be working. Every time he comes home, Ellie shuts herself in the garage. She won't even look at him or say a word when they pass on the street. She greets him with the coldness of a stranger. Even her best friend asked what went down between them. On the flip side, he mentions that Dina still treats him with warmth and real respect, like she sees him as a true father figure, almost like she were his own kid. Joel says it without bitterness, but it hints at the quiet sadness he's been carrying deep inside. After hearing him out, Gail reminds Joel that biologically, Ellie isn't his daughter, but that's not the point. She says what he's dealing with is one of the oldest, most cliché problems in the book. Teenage pushback, the cold shoulder, the eye rolls. It's textbook. Kids grow up, and part of that process is pulling away from the people who raise them. It's frustrating, yeah, but totally normal. Still, Gail doesn't let the conversation stay light for long. Her tone shifts. She admits she's noticed Joel has been holding things back from her, and that makes it hard for her to keep taking these sessions seriously. The whiskey starts hitting her, and right then she drops the filter. She calls Joel out, flat out tells him he killed her husband. She says she gets it. Maybe he didn't have another choice. Maybe it had to be done. And sure, logically, forgiveness would make sense. But she can't do it. Not because of what happened, but because of how it happened. With a raw edge in her voice, she tells him that sitting there, looking at him in her own damn house, makes her feel a deep, burning rage she can't just push down. And yet, now that she said it out loud, maybe, just maybe, she's finally ready to begin making peace with him. So, she asks Joel to stop holding back. She wants him to tell her the truth. The one thing he refuses to admit when it comes to Ellie. Faced with the weight of the moment, Joel starts trembling. Shaken, he swears to his therapist that he never hurt Ellie. Through tears, he confesses what he did was save her. With that said, he stands up and walks out of the house without looking back. Meanwhile, over at the Miller house, we see Ellie holed up in the garage, focused on cleaning and fixing her weapons. She stops when Dina shows up for a visit. Dina tells her she's been assigned to the patrol squad too, and came by to pick her up so they can head out together. The two hop on their horses and ride out toward the meetup point, where the rest of the group is already gathered. The patrol leader lays out the mission. They're taking the Alpine route, following Highway 191 down to Hoback. When she sees Ellie's gear, she reminds her this is a recon mission, not a combat op. If they run into more than 2 infected runners, they are to turn around immediately. No taking risks that could endanger the team. She also puts Katie in charge if anything goes sideways. Katie's the one calling the shots. Before heading out, the leader reviews the signal protocol. Yellow flags mean everything's good. Green flags mean trouble, and they need backup. And just like that, the patrol sets out. They leave the safety of the settlement behind and ride into the snowy wilds. While traveling, Dina takes the chance to ask Ellie if she's going to the New Year's event later and whether she's thinking of going with Katie. Her ex Ellie shuts that idea down immediately. So, Dina suggests they go together, just the two of them, welcoming the new year side by side. She admits she and Jesse just broke up and could use some support, and maybe a little distraction too. Not long after, the group stops when Katie signals they found a blood trail on the road. Even though the leader says they should report it and head back, Ellie and Dina decide to check it out on their own, driven by curiosity and the need to see what's going on. Following the blood, they reach the site of a brutal showdown. Torn-up remains and fresh signs of a fight between a bear and several infected. The place is grisly, a harsh reminder of how wild and unpredictable the world still is. They realize the infected had been hiding in a truck. One of them must have come back to rest after feeding on the bear. Soon after, the rest of the patrol arrives. Even though the leader gives the order to leave, Ellie and Dina ignore it and go after the infected that might still be nearby. Inside a building, Ellie hears screams and suggests they finish it quickly. But Dina spots something. It's not just one infected. There are 2. Dina hesitates, but Ellie challenges her. You going to let the guys do the heavy lifting? That's all it takes. Dina pushes forward. They creep through the halls, staying quiet. Ellie spots the first infected across the room. They split up to take them from different angles. Ellie uses a bottle to distract the second infected and then jumps on it, stabbing it repeatedly. Moments later, Dina finishes off her target too. Everything seems under control, until the floor beneath Ellie gives way. She crashes into the lower level. Luckily, she isn't seriously hurt, but the way out is blocked by a locked door, and the hole above is too high to climb. Dina says she'll find a ladder and warns Ellie to stay put. But Ellie doesn't listen. She explores and discovers she's in what looks like an old office building. As she rummages through the debris, she finds a worn magazine. Then, she feels something watching her. Gripping her rifle, she moves cautiously through the hall. At the end of the hallway, she spots an infected moving on all fours. She yells, trying to lure it closer, but it retreats instead. Ellie starts to stalk it. Eventually, the creature's faint growls give away its position. She spins around, but it's gone. Suddenly, it leaps out of the shadows, knocking Ellie down and biting her abdomen. In pain but calm, she draws her pistol and fires several point-blank shots until the creature goes limp. Soon after, Dina bursts in and finds her. Back at the stronghold, they're called in by the council. Ellie explains what happened, that the infected showed unusual intelligence. It hid, climbed, planned its moves, and even set a trap. Tommy, frustrated, scolds them for disobeying orders and risking lives. But Ellie stands firm, reminding him that he and Joel would have done the same. Tommy tries to argue, but stops when his wife's critical expression silences him. In private, the council debates. while they choose to believe Ellie's account. The fact that only 6 infected were found leads them to downplay the event. For now, they decide to focus on the upcoming New Year celebration, hoping things stay under control. Later, Ellie disinfects the bite and stitches it herself, disguising it as a weapon injury. When Joel gets home, he asks if she's going to the party. He even encourages it. Ellie responds with uncertainty. Then he sees her guitar, worn and damaged, and offers to fix it, promising to return it the next day. That night, Ellie goes to the party, the town celebrating with food, music, and dancing. From a corner, she watches as Dina and her ex dance like nothing happened. But when Dina spots Ellie, she walks over and invites her to dance. As they move together, Dina caresses her gently. Ellie, feeling exposed, warns her that guys from the local watch group are staring. Dina just laughs, saying they're jealous. Ellie admits she doesn't get why. She doesn't see herself as a threat. Dina says nothing. Instead, she kisses her. Ellie kisses back, passionately. Suddenly, someone interrupts, pointing out they're in a church at a family event and demanding respect. Dina agrees to leave, but as they walk away, the man throws a homophobic insult. Ellie, furious, is about to react, but Joel steps in first. Without hesitation, he punches the guy and throws him out. Then he turns to Ellie and asks if she's okay. But instead of thanking him, she throws a harsh insult his way, making it clear she doesn't want his help. Hours later, Ellie returns home and finds Joel waiting with the repaired guitar. Despite the gesture, she walks past him in silence. On the surface, the town returns to normal. The party continues. People laugh. The routine resumes. But deep inside the settlement, among rusted pipes, new colonies of fungus begin to grow, spreading quietly. And beyond Jackson's borders, a new threat approaches. Abby's group has arrived, fully armed and ready to do whatever it takes to get revenge.